Another day in paradise, if paradise is passive-aggressive silence and burnt toast. I'm Logan Price, 39 years old, and I've been married to Nora for 12 years. 12 years of watching her slowly transform from the woman I fell in love with into someone who treats me like I'm furniture that occasionally needs feeding. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. This morning started like every other morning in our well-kept middle-class home in Millbrook, Maine. Nora rushed around the kitchen, checking her phone every 30 seconds, her blonde hair perfectly styled even at 7 a.m. She works as a junior accountant at Cranmore & Associates, and she takes that job more seriously than she's ever taken our marriage. "You're going to be late again," she said without looking at me, her voice carrying that familiar edge of criticism that's become her default tone. "Traffic doesn't care about your schedule, Nora." I poured coffee into my thermos, the same routine I've followed for years. I work as a supply chain manager at Millbrook Logistics Hub, coordinating shipments and solving problems that would make most people's heads spin. It's blue-collar work with a white-collar brain requirement, but Nora's never understood that. She grabbed her purse and keys, then stopped. "Damn it. What now? I forgot my phone." She rushed back upstairs, heels clicking against hardwood. I finished my coffee and was heading for the door when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She'd forgotten it again. The screen lit up with a text message, and what I saw made me freeze. "I want you so badly. Can't wait for tonight. Last night was incredible. Tyler." I stared at the screen, my mind processing the words like a computer crash in slow motion. Tyler. Who the hell was Tyler? My hands moved without conscious thought, taking photos of the message with my own phone. The screen showed dozens of messages between them, going back weeks. Well, that answers the "who's Tyler" question, I thought, my inner voice maintaining its sarcastic edge even as my world crumbled. My wife was cheating on me. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Nora appeared, saw me holding her phone, and her face went through a series of expressions. Surprise, guilt, then defiance. "Give me that." Interesting reading material. I held the phone just out of her reach. "Tyler seems very enthusiastic." Her face flushed red. "Logan, I can explain." "Can you?" Because from where I'm standing it looks pretty self-explanatory. I handed her the phone, watching her face carefully. "So how long?" She clutched the phone against her chest like armor. "It just happened." "That's not what I asked." 3 months. The words came out in a rush. "It just happened, Logan. You're never here, you're always working, and Tyler understands me." "Tyler understands you." I repeated the words slowly, tasting their bitterness. "And where did you meet this understanding Tyler?" He's my ex from high school. He's a real estate agent now, and we reconnected at my class reunion. The reunion she'd gone to alone because I was too busy with work. The reunion where she'd stayed out until 3 a.m. and came home smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. "So you've been screwing your high school boyfriend for 3 months. I kept my voice level, which seemed to unnerve her more than if I'd shouted. "In our bed? No, never here. We got a place." A place. My supply chain manager brain was already working, cataloging information, planning logistics. "You mean an apartment? You've been maintaining a secret apartment with Tyler?" "Yes." She lifted her chin defiantly. "And I'm not sorry. You want to know the truth? I'm happy for the first time in years. Tyler makes me feel alive." I nodded slowly. "I see. And you were planning to tell me this when?" I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe I thought you'd just accept it." "Accept it?" I walked to the kitchen counter, picked up my keys, my movements deliberate and calm. Except that my wife is cheating on me with her high school sweetheart in a secret love nest. Logan, please. We can work this out. Maybe we could have an open marriage or… No. I turned to face her, and whatever she saw in my expression made her step backward. No, we can't work this out. And no, I won't accept it. But you'll wish I did. I walked toward the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. Oh, and Nora? Next time you want to keep secrets, don't leave your phone lying around. I thought you were smarter than that. I left her standing in the kitchen, mouth open, clutching her phone. As I drove to work, I called my best friend Rick. Change of plans, I said when he answered. I need a favor, and maybe a crowbar. Rick Martinez has been my best friend since we were kids, and he's never asked questions when I need help. He works as a truck dispatcher at the same logistics hub where I manage supply chains, which means he knows everyone and everything that moves through Millbrook. What kind of favor are we talking about? Rick asked when I found him in the dispatcher's office an hour later. The kind where my wife is cheating on me and I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with before I make any moves. Rick's face darkened. He's protective of the people he cares about, and he's never particularly liked Nora. That cold-hearted snake. What do you need? Information. Her boyfriend is Tyler Mason, real estate agent. I need to know where they're meeting, what kind of resources he has, and how deep this goes. Tyler Mason, Rick frowned. Tall guy, drives a silver BMW, works for Prestige Properties. You know him. Know of him. He tried to sell my cousin a house last year, total sleazeball. Smooth talker, but folds like a cheap suit when things get tough. Rick pulled out his phone. Give me an hour. While Rick worked his network of contacts, I used my own resources. Supply chain management teaches you to think systematically, to trace connections, and find weak points. I accessed the company database and cross-referenced recent deliveries to Nora's office building. Bingo. 3 deliveries in the past month to an apartment complex on Maple Street, all signed for by N. Mason. She was already using his name. By lunch, Rick had a complete picture. Your boy Tyler is married, he said, sliding a folder across my desk. Wife's name is Patricia. Been married 8 years. No kids. He's got a reputation for sleeping around, but he's always been careful about it. Until now. What about the apartment? Maple Street Gardens, apartment 4B, leases in both their names, been active for 2 months. He's paying for it, but she's listed as a co-tenant. I studied the paperwork Rick had somehow obtained. My wife had been planning this for months, setting up a whole second life while lying to my face every single day. There's more, Rick said. Tyler's not exactly swimming in money. His real estate business is decent but not spectacular, and maintaining 2 households is stretching him thin. Plus, his wife Patricia works at the bank where you and Nora have your joint account. Interesting. I leaned back in my chair, pieces of a plan already forming. Very interesting. That evening I came home to find Nora waiting for me in the living room, her hands folded in her lap like she was at a job interview. We need to talk, she said. Do we? I loosened my tie, playing casual. About what? About this morning. About Tyler. About us. I sat down across from her, noting how she couldn't quite meet my eyes. Okay, talk. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. But Logan, our marriage has been over for years, we both know it. Tyler and I, what we have is real. It's passionate and alive and everything that we used to be. Everything we used to be. I repeated her words back to her. So this is my fault? Not fault, exactly. But you have to admit, we've grown apart. You work all the time, and when you're home, you're distant. Tyler pays attention to me. He makes me feel beautiful and desired. And that justifies lying to me for 3 months? I was trying to figure out how to tell you. She finally looked at me directly. I want a divorce, Logan. I want to be with Tyler. I nodded slowly. I see. And you've thought this through? The financial implications? The logistics? Tyler's handling all of that. Tyler says. I stood up, walked to the window. Our neighbor, Mrs. Green, was watering her garden, and she waved when she saw me. Sweet old lady who knew everyone's business in the neighborhood. Tell me something, Nora. Does Tyler's wife know about your arrangement? The silence stretched long enough to be an answer. I didn't think so. I turned back to her. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me the address of your love nest. You're going to give me access to all your financial records related to this affair, and you're going to tell me exactly how long you've been planning to leave me. I don't have to tell you anything. No, you don't. But if you want this divorce to go smoothly, if you want to avoid having your dirty laundry aired in public, you'll cooperate. She stared at me for a long moment. You're different. Am I? Or are you just seeing me clearly for the first time in years? Fine. The apartment is at Maple Street Gardens, 4B. We've been planning this since the reunion, but we only got serious about it 2 months ago. And Tyler's wife? That's Tyler's problem to solve. Is it? I smiled, and something in my expression made her uncomfortable. We'll see about that. That night, after Nora went to bed, I sat in my home office and planned. I pulled up property records, financial databases, social media profiles. By morning, I knew more about Tyler Mason than his own wife did. The game was about to begin, and unlike Nora, I'd never underestimated my opponent. The next morning, Nora left for work early, claiming she had a meeting with a client. I knew better. She was meeting Tyler, probably to discuss their conversation with me and plan their next moves. What she didn't know was that I'd already made mine. I called in a personal day and drove to Cranmore and Associates, parking across the street with a clear view of the building entrance. At 10:30 a.m., Nora emerged with a tall man in an expensive suit, Tyler Mason in person. He was handsome in a generic real estate agent way, with perfect teeth and hair that probably cost more to maintain than I spent on groceries. They walked to his silver BMW, and I followed at a distance as they drove to a small cafe on the other side of town. I parked where I could watch them through the window, noting how they sat close together, how she touched his arm when she laughed, how he kept checking his phone. After an hour, they separated. Tyler headed toward his office, and Nora returned to work. I waited another 30 minutes, then made my move. Prestige Properties occupied the ground floor of a glass office building downtown. Tyler's office was visible from the street. Corner office, decent view, the kind of setup that screamed moderately successful. I walked in like I belonged there. I'd like to speak with Tyler Mason, I told the receptionist, a young woman with too much makeup and not enough experience to spot trouble. Do you have an appointment? Tell him Logan Price is here about the Maple Street property. She buzzed his office, spoke quietly, then looked confused. He says he'll be right out. Tyler appeared within minutes, his face carefully neutral but his eyes wary. Mr. Price, what can I do for you? We need to talk, privately. He hesitated, then nodded toward his office. Of course. His office was exactly what I'd expected. Motivational posters, photos of expensive houses, a desk covered with contracts and business cards. He closed the door and turned to face me. I assume this is about Nora. It is. I sat down without being invited, making myself comfortable. Nice office. Business must be good. It's fine. He remained standing, trying to maintain a position of authority. Look, I know this is awkward, but... Awkward. I laughed. That's one word for it. Tell me, Tyler, does your wife Patricia know you're maintaining a second apartment with my wife? His face went pale. How did you know about Patricia? It's amazing what you can learn when you actually pay attention. I leaned forward. Here's the thing, Tyler. I don't particularly care that my wife is cheating on me. Our marriage has been over for years. But I do care about being lied to, manipulated, and treated like an idiot. I never meant for it to happen this way. Didn't you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you targeted a married woman at her high school reunion, convinced her to leave her husband, and set up a nice little arrangement where she pays half the expenses while you get all the benefits. That's not how it is. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone, showed him a photo I'd taken of their lease agreement. Joint tenancy, but you're listed as the primary contact. Very convenient. His hands were shaking now. What do you want? I want you to understand something very clearly. Nora thinks she's in control of this situation, but she's not. You think you've found yourself a sugar mama to help with expenses, but you haven't. What you've done is piss off someone who makes a living solving complex problems and managing logistics. I stood up, walked to his window. Nice view. You can see the bank from here, the bank where your wife works. Small world, isn't it? You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening you, Tyler. I'm educating you. I turned back to face him. See, Nora made a mistake. She assumed I'd be devastated, that I'd beg her to stay, that I'd make this easy for both of you. But I'm not devastated. I'm angry. And angry people who understand systems and logistics can cause all sorts of interesting problems. What kind of problems? Well, for example, your wife Patricia probably doesn't know about apartment 4B at Maple Street Gardens, but she could, very easily. You bastard! Probably. But I'm a bastard who's been faithful to his marriage vows for 12 years while you've been screwing my wife. I headed for the door. Enjoy your day, Tyler. Give my regards to Nora. I left him standing in his office, phone in hand, probably calling Nora to tell her about our conversation. Let them panic. Let them try to figure out what I was planning next. Because the truth was, I was just getting started. My next stop was the bank where Patricia Mason worked. I didn't go inside, not yet. But I sat in my car and watched the building, noting the lunch schedule, the security cameras, the flow of employees in and out. Information was ammunition, and I was stockpiling both. That evening, Nora was waiting for me again, but this time she was furious. You went to see Tyler. I did. I hung up my jacket, acting like this was the most normal thing in the world. You had no right. Didn't I? He's sleeping with my wife. I think that gives me some rights. You threatened him. Did I? That's interesting. What exactly did he say I threatened him with? She opened her mouth, then closed it, realizing the trap. If she repeated Tyler's version of events, she'd have to admit they'd discussed tactics for dealing with me. Logan, this doesn't have to be ugly. Doesn't it? You've been lying to me for 3 months, Nora. You've been using our joint income to fund your affair. You've been planning to leave me while pretending everything was normal. How exactly did you think this was going to go? I thought you'd be reasonable. Reasonable? I poured myself a drink, taking my time. You want reasonable? Here's reasonable. I want a complete accounting of every penny you've spent on this affair. I want the names of everyone who knew about it before I did, and I want you out of this house by the end of the week. You can't throw me out. This is my home too. Is it? Because it seems like your home is apartment 4B with Tyler. I took a sip of whiskey, watching her face. Unless Tyler's having second thoughts. Is he, Nora? Having second thoughts? The way her face crumpled told me everything I needed to know. Tyler was already wavering, probably scared about what I might do to his marriage, his business, his carefully constructed life. He loves me, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Does he? Or does he love having a married woman pay half his expenses while he gets to play the romantic hero? I finished my drink. I guess we'll find out soon enough. I went to bed that night listening to Nora make hushed phone calls from the guest room, her voice urgent and pleading. Let her beg, let Tyler squirm, let them both realize that cheating on someone doesn't automatically make them a victim. The real fun was about to begin. The beauty of working in logistics is that you learn to identify pressure points, The places where a small amount of force can cause an entire system to collapse. Tyler Mason had several pressure points, and I was about to test them systematically. I started with his business. Prestige Properties had a decent reputation, but real estate is built on trust and referrals. I spent my lunch hour visiting 3 of Tyler's recent clients, posing as a potential buyer interested in their experiences. Tyler Mason? Oh, he was fine, I guess, said Mrs. Henderson, who'd bought a house through him 6 months ago. Professional enough, but there was something about him. My husband said he seemed like the type who'd sell his own mother if the commission was right. Did he seem distracted during the process? I asked casually. Now that you mention it, yes, especially toward the end. Always checking his phone, taking personal calls. We almost went with someone else. I made similar visits to 2 other clients, planting seeds of doubt, asking questions that made them reconsider their experiences. Word travels fast in the real estate community. My next stop was the apartment complex on Maple Street. The building manager was a tired-looking woman in her 50s who clearly dealt with more drama than she was paid for. I'm thinking about renting here, I told her. A friend of mine mentioned that Tyler Mason has a place here. Oh, him. She rolled her eyes. Apartment 4B, he and his girlfriend. They're not exactly quiet, if you know what I mean. Girlfriend? Well, I assume she's there most nights, but she's got a different last name on the lease. Price, I think. Anyway, they've been getting noise complaints from the neighbors. Thin walls, you know? I nodded sympathetically. That's too bad. Have you had to speak with them about it? Twice. The woman, Price, she was embarrassed, apologetic. But him acted like I was bothering him with trivial nonsense. She shook her head. Between you and me, I don't think they'll be renewing their lease. Perfect. I thanked her and left, but not before noting the security cameras in the lobby and the fact that the building had visitor parking that was clearly visible from the street. That evening, I put Phase 2 into motion. I drove to Tyler's house, his real house, where he lived with his wife Patricia. It was a nice suburban home, well-maintained, with Patricia's Honda Civic in the driveway next to Tyler's BMW. I didn't approach the house. Instead, I parked down the street and waited. At 7:30 p.m., Patricia emerged in jogging clothes and headed down the sidewalk. I gave her a 5-minute head start, then followed on foot. She had a regular route through the neighborhood, and I timed it carefully. When she passed the small park at the halfway point of her run, I was sitting on a bench, looking like someone taking a break from my own exercise. Beautiful evening for a run, I said as she jogged past. She slowed, smiled politely. It is. Perfect weather for it. I'm Logan, I said, standing up. I think our spouses know each other. She stopped completely, her face showing confusion. I'm sorry? Logan Price. My wife Nora works with your husband Tyler. It wasn't exactly true, but it was close enough. Oh! Her face brightened. Tyler mentioned working with someone named Nora. Small world. It is. I started walking alongside her as she resumed a slower pace. Actually, I was hoping to get your advice about something. Tyler and Nora have been working on a project together, and Nora's been spending a lot of late nights at the office. I'm starting to worry she's working too hard. Patricia's expression shifted slightly. Late nights? Oh, yes. Sometimes she doesn't get home until after midnight. She says Tyler's a real taskmaster when it comes to getting deals closed. I laughed. I keep telling her she needs to set boundaries, but you know how it is in real estate. Real estate? Patricia stopped walking. Tyler's in real estate, but what kind of project would he be working on with an accountant? I could see the wheels turning in her head, the pieces not quite fitting together. I'm probably explaining it wrong. Something about property valuations and tax implications. Honestly, I don't understand the details. When did you say these late nights started? Oh, about 3 months ago. Right around the time of Nora's high school reunion, actually. Funny coincidence. I checked my watch. Well, I should get home. Nora's probably wondering where I am. Nice meeting you, Patricia. I left her standing on the sidewalk, her face troubled, her evening run forgotten. When I got home, Nora was pacing the living room, her phone clutched in her hand. Where were you? Out for a walk. Why? Tyler says you're trying to sabotage his business. Am I? How would I do that? By talking to his clients, asking questions, making them doubt him. I sat down, picked up the remote. That's an interesting theory. Did Tyler have any evidence of this alleged sabotage? Logan, stop playing games. What do you want? I want honesty. I want accountability. And I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I turned on the TV, channel surfing casually. Speaking of consequences, I met Tyler's wife today. Nice woman. Very trusting. Nora went white. You didn't. Didn't what? Have a conversation with a neighbor while out for a walk? Of course I did. We talked about work, about spouses who work late nights, about the importance of communication in marriage. You bastard? So I've been told. But I'm an honest bastard, which is more than I can say for some people. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I had a feeling I knew who it was. Logan Price. This is Tyler Mason. We need to talk. Do we? I thought we covered everything yesterday. Not on the phone. In person. Tonight. I'm busy tonight. How about tomorrow? This can't wait. I looked at Nora, who was watching me with a mixture of fear and fury. Okay. But not at your office. Somewhere public. Murphy's Bar, 9 o'clock. Fine. I hung up and smiled at Nora. Looks like Tyler wants another chat. Should be interesting. She grabbed her purse and keys. I'm going out. To warn Tyler? To coordinate your stories? Good idea. You two should definitely be on the same page before tomorrow night. After she left, I called Rick. How'd you like to grab a drink tomorrow night? I have a feeling the entertainment's going to be first rate. The pressure was building, and soon something was going to crack. I just had to make sure it wasn't me. Murphy's Bar was exactly the kind of place I'd chosen deliberately. Dimly lit, full of regulars who minded their own business, and equipped with security cameras that actually worked. Rick arrived first, taking a table in the back where he could see the entire room. Tyler showed up at exactly 9 o'clock, looking like a man who hadn't slept well. He scanned the bar until he spotted me, then walked over with the kind of forced confidence that fooled no one. Price. Tyler. Drink? This isn't a social call. Everything's social if you approach it right. I signaled the bartender for 2 beers. Relax, we're just 2 guys having a conversation. He sat down reluctantly, his eyes darting around the room. You need to stop. Stop what? You know what? Talking to my clients, following my wife, spreading lies about me. Lies? I leaned back in my chair. That's a strong accusation. What lies would those be? You told Patricia that Nora and I work together. Don't you? I mean, you're both working on the same project, destroying my marriage. That's collaboration. This isn't a joke, isn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it's pretty funny. You thought you'd found yourself a nice, easy affair with a married woman. No strings, no complications, just good times and someone else to help pay the bills. I took a sip of beer. But now it's getting messy, isn't it? Tyler's jaw tightened. Nora and I love each other. Do you? Because she seemed pretty upset when she left my house tonight. Something about you having second thoughts. I'm not having second thoughts. No? Then why are we here? Why aren't you at the apartment with her right now, celebrating your great love? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Let me tell you what I think is happening, I continued. I think you're realizing that cheating is a lot more fun when there are no consequences, but consequences have a way of catching up with people. What do you want? I want you to understand something. Nora thinks she's trading up, leaving her boring husband for an exciting lover. But what she's actually doing is trading a man who was faithful to her for 12 years for a man who cheats on his wife. How do you think that's going to work out for her in the long run? That's different. Is it? You're cheating on Patricia with Nora. What makes Nora think you won't cheat on her with someone else? Tyler stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't, but you might want to listen to this. Patricia knows something's wrong. She's asking questions. How long do you think it'll take her to find the right answers? You can't prove anything. Can I? I pulled out my phone, scrolled through photos. Apartment lease with both your names. Credit card receipts from romantic dinners. Hotel charges from before you got the apartment. I looked up at him. Want me to keep going? His face had gone pale. You're bluffing. Am I? There's one way to find out. I stood up, tossed money on the table for the drinks. Give Patricia my regards. I started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, and Tyler? You might want to check with your office tomorrow. I hear there have been some questions about your professionalism. I left him sitting there and walked over to Rick's table. How'd it go? Rick asked. Better than expected. He's scared, which means he's going to make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that hurt other people. Come on, let's get out of here. We were walking toward the exit when Tyler caught up with us. Price, wait. I turned around. Change your mind about something? Look, maybe we can work something out, some kind of arrangement. What kind of arrangement? I'll end it with Nora. Clean break. You don't have to involve Patricia. Rick stepped closer, his bulk intimidating in the dim light. You want to repeat that? I'm trying to be reasonable here, Tyler said, but his voice was shaking. Reasonable would have been not sleeping with my wife in the first place, I replied. But since we're past that point, let me make you a counteroffer. You tell Nora it's over, you tell your wife the truth, and you stay the hell away from both of us. In return, I won't make your life any more miserable than it already is. I can't tell Patricia. It would destroy her. Probably. But that's what happens when you cheat on people who love you. I started walking again. You've got 24 hours to figure out what you're going to do. After that, I start making decisions for you. Outside the bar, Rick shook his head. Guy's a coward. Yeah, but he's a desperate coward, which makes him dangerous. He's going to try to convince Nora to disappear with him, or he's going to try to make this all her fault. What's your next move? I'm going to give him exactly what he asked for, a way out. But it's going to cost him everything. When I got home, Nora was waiting in the living room with 2 suitcases beside her. I'm leaving, she announced. Are you? Where are you going? Tyler and I are going away for a few days, to figure things out. Figure what out? Whether we want to keep fighting you or just start over somewhere else. I looked at the suitcases, then at her determined expression. That's interesting. Does Tyler know about this plan? Of course he knows. It was his idea. Was it? Because I just spent an hour with Tyler, and he seemed more interested in ending things than running away with you. Her confidence wavered slightly. You're lying. Am I? Call him. Ask him about our conversation. She pulled out her phone, dialed Tyler's number. It went straight to voicemail. He's probably driving, she said, but doubt was creeping into her voice. Probably. Or maybe he's at home with Patricia, trying to figure out how to save his marriage. Tyler loves me. Tyler loves the idea of you. There's a difference. I picked up one of her suitcases. But go ahead. Take your trip. See how much Tyler loves you when there's no apartment to go back to, no safety net, no easy way out. What do you mean? I mean your lover isn't nearly as committed to this relationship as you think he is. But you'll figure that out soon enough. She grabbed the suitcase from me. You're just trying to hurt me. No, Nora. I'm trying to save you from making an even bigger mistake. But if you want to learn the hard way, that's your choice. She dragged both suitcases to the door. When I come back, I want you gone. When you come back, we'll see who's gone and who's still standing. She left, and I poured myself another drink. My phone buzzed with a text from Rick. Patricia Mason just called her sister crying. Word travels fast. I smiled and settled into my chair. The dominoes were starting to fall, and soon the whole structure would collapse. The only question was who would be left standing when the dust settled. I woke up the next morning to my phone ringing. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. "Mr. Price, this is Patricia Mason. I think we need to talk." "Do we? Please, I know what's been going on. I know about Tyler and your wife." Her voice was shaky but determined. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown, curious to see how much she'd figured out on her own. Patricia Mason was attractive in a quiet, understated way, the opposite of Nora's flashy confidence. She looked like she'd been crying, but her posture was straight and her eyes were clear. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, as I sat down across from her. "I'm sorry about the circumstances." "Are you? Because you're the one who told me about the late nights, about Tyler working with your wife." She stirred her coffee absently. "I went through his credit card statements last night. Hotels, restaurants, an apartment lease I knew nothing about." "I'm sorry you had to find out that way." "No, you're not. You wanted me to find out. You planned it." She looked up at me. "The question is why?" "Because Tyler needed to understand that his actions have consequences. And because you deserve to know the truth." "Did I? Because right now I'm sitting here wondering if I would have been happier not knowing." "Would you?" She considered this. "No. I hate being made a fool of more than I hate being hurt." "Then we understand each other." "Do we?" "Because I'm not sure what you want from me." "I don't want anything from you, Patricia. But I thought you should know that your husband and my wife are planning to run away together. They think they can escape the mess they've made." Her face hardened. "Are they?" "They're certainly going to try. The question is whether you're going to let Tyler come crawling back when it all falls apart." "Is it going to fall apart? What do you think? Tyler's a coward who cheats on his wife and then tries to blame other people for the consequences. Nora's a woman who thinks love is supposed to be easy and exciting all the time. How long do you think that's going to last when they're dealing with divorce lawyers and financial problems, and the reality of what they've done?" Patricia was quiet for a long moment. "Tyler came home last night and told me he wanted to work on our marriage, said he'd been distant lately but that he was committed to making things right." "Did he tell you about the affair?" "No. He acted like nothing had happened." She laughed bitterly. "I sat there listening to him talk about commitment and honesty while I had copies of his hotel receipts in my purse." "What did you do?" "Nothing. I wanted to see how far he'd go with the lie." She met my eyes. "How far would he have gone, do you think?" "As far as he needed to. Tyler's not going to confess unless he has no other choice." "And my wife?" "Nora thinks she's in love. She thinks Tyler is going to rescue her from her boring life and give her the passion she's been missing. She has no idea that Tyler offered to dump her last night to save his own skin." Patricia's eyes widened. "He what?" "He tried to make a deal with me. End the affair, keep you in the dark, pretend it never happened." "But you said no." "I said no. Because deals like that don't fix anything. They just postpone the reckoning." My phone buzzed. Text from Nora. "Tyler's not answering his phone. Where is he?" I showed Patricia the message. "Looks like the wheels are coming off." "Good." Patricia's voice was cold. "Let me ask you something, Logan. What do you want to happen here?" "I want Tyler to face the consequences of his choices. I want Nora to understand that actions have results. And I want both of them to realize that cheating isn't a victimless crime. Revenge. Justice. There's a difference." Patricia nodded slowly. "Tyler's at work. He doesn't know that I know about the apartment, about the money he's been spending, about any of it. He thinks he's gotten away with it. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to give him one chance to tell me the truth, one chance to be honest about what he's done." She stood up. "And when he lies to me again, I'm going to make sure he loses everything." She left, and I sat there finishing my coffee, thinking about the conversation. Patricia Mason was stronger than her husband had given her credit for, and Tyler was about to learn that lesson the hard way. My phone rang. Nora. Logan, I can't find Tyler anywhere. He's not at his office. He's not answering his phone, and the apartment manager says someone called asking questions about our lease. Maybe he's having second thoughts. About what? About running away with a married woman. About blowing up his life for someone he's known for 3 months. Tyler loves me. Does he? Because I have it on good authority that he tried to end your affair last night. Silence. Nora? Still there? You're lying. Am I? Why don't you ask him? Oh wait, you can't, because he's not taking your calls. He's probably just busy. Probably. Or maybe he's at home with his wife, trying to save his marriage. Tyler wouldn't do that. Wouldn't he? He's been lying to Patricia for 3 months. What makes you think he's been telling you the truth? I hung up and drove to my office, where Rick was waiting with updates. Tyler called in sick today, he reported, and word is that Patricia Mason cleaned out their joint savings account this morning. Efficient. There's more. Someone, and I'm betting it was Patricia, called Tyler's boss and asked some very pointed questions about company policy regarding employee conduct. Interesting. Anything else? Your neighbor, Mrs. Green, called. Says there's been a lot of activity at your house. Nora coming and going, loading boxes into her car. She's moving out. Finally. You okay with that? Rick, I've been okay with it since the moment I found out she was cheating. The only question was whether she'd leave with some dignity or whether she'd have to be dragged out kicking and screaming. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. He lied. Again. It's over. Another text, this one from Nora. Coming home to get the rest of my things. Tyler and I are leaving town tonight. I showed both messages to Rick. This should be interesting, he said. It should be. Want to stick around for the finale? Wouldn't miss it. We drove back to my house, where Nora's car was parked in the driveway next to a silver BMW. Tyler was helping her load boxes into her trunk, both of them moving with the frantic energy of people who knew they were running out of time. I parked across the street and waited. Within minutes, another car pulled up, Patricia Mason in her Honda Civic. She sat in her car for a moment, then got out and walked toward the house. This is going to be good, Rick muttered. Patricia walked up to Tyler, who was carrying a box, to Nora's car. Whatever she said to him made him drop the box, its contents spilling across the driveway. Nora emerged from the house carrying another box, saw Patricia, and stopped. The three of them stood in my driveway, forming a triangle of betrayal and consequences. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but their body language told the story clearly enough. Patricia was calm and controlled, speaking in measured tones. Tyler was defensive, gesturing frantically. Nora was angry, pointing fingers and raising her voice. Then Patricia pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to Tyler. He opened it, looked at the contents, and his face went white. Legal papers, probably divorce documents. Tyler said something to Nora, who shook her head violently. He said something else, and she slapped him across the face. Patricia walked back to her car without another word. Tyler stood in my driveway, holding the divorce papers, a red handprint on his cheek. Nora was screaming at him, but he wasn't listening anymore. Finally, Tyler got in his BMW and drove away, leaving Nora standing alone in my driveway, surrounded by boxes and the wreckage of her grand romance. I got out of my car and walked over to her. Need help with those boxes? She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. He left me. Did he? Patricia showed up with divorce papers and threatened to tell everyone about us, and Tyler just left. Shocking. A man who cheats on his wife turns out to be unreliable. Who could have seen that coming? Don't. Don't what? Point out that this is exactly what I told you would happen? I picked up the spilled contents of the dropped box, photos of her and Tyler, romantic cards, little mementos of their affair. You threw away 12 years of marriage for this. I loved him. You loved the idea of him. You loved feeling desired and special and important, but you never loved Tyler Mason because you never really knew Tyler Mason. She wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. What happens now? Now you figure out what you want your life to look like. Without Tyler, without me, without anyone to blame for your choices. Logan, No. I held up a hand. We're done, Nora. You made your choice 3 months ago. Everything that's happened since then has just been the consequences playing out. I helped her load the remaining boxes into her car, then watched as she drove away. She didn't look back. Rick walked over and stood beside me. Feel better? I feel finished, like I finally closed a book I should have put down a long time ago. What's next? Next, I figure out what Logan Price wants to do with the rest of his life.